up, brother?
Hey, Phil, man.
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. We're just talking a little union.
Oh no, sitting back here listening, enjoying it.
I appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. So we're ready to talk some Phillies and some Birds, man.
Uh-oh.
I want to talk about the Birds first here, man, because obviously we haven't had the chance to talk about Sunday afternoon. I'm kind of curious to hear what you had to have to say about it as well. And of course, we have to gear up for Minnesota. So first off, man, a lot of people seem concerned after Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
What concerned you the most though about Sunday afternoon?
I mean, it was as ugly gets, right? In terms of a victory, which at the end of the day is all that matters, is that they're 1-0 in the win-loss column. But concerns, like to me, it was just concerns within that game. There's nothing to really take forward that I'm looking at. I don't have any concerns moving forward about Jalen Hurts. I don't really have any concerns about the lack of sack numbers or sack totals that this defensive line kind of lacked throughout the first three quarters on Sunday. That was more so the game plan that Bill O'Brien and Mac Jones and them put together over there. But like I said, it was really ugly to watch. The number one concern or negative that I did have was play calling on both sides of the ball, man, and more so than not the offensive side of the ball. So first half, you have Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson put together this game plan where they are run. And not just that, you have personnel usage of it's Kenny Gainwell, 14 or 15 carries. It's Boston Scott for 1. It's DeAndre Swift for 1. That didn't make sense to me, but you're run. You're conservative. There's no shots down the field. There's no shots in the intermediate over the middle of the field, anything like that. Dallas Goedert, 1 target the entire game. We know that, but then you get to the second half, and this is what really boggled my mind here.
Okay.
You get to the second half, you get later in the fourth quarter, 8 minutes, you're up by 5, right? Parcero, they didn't run the ball one time. The Eagles of last year, Nick Sirianni of last year, if they had a lead and they got the ball back with 6, 7, 8 minutes, other teams would be lucky to see the football again. They didn't run it one time, and they were snapping the ball with 10, 12, 14 seconds on the play clock every time. They gave Mac Jones the ball back with 5:50. You didn't even chew 3 minutes off the clock. It was so mind-boggling to watch. And then the defense, who I thought was actually pretty good, but the issue was the 3 touchdown drives that New England put together. When they wanted to, man, they went down the field in 30 seconds.
Yeah, that was concerning, man.
The play calling to me was just really, really poor.
And it's interesting because, like, we talked about before the year, like, replacing Steichen, replacing Jonathan Gannon. How would that actually look? And it's funny because it's week 1. No one's going to sit here and overreact, at least here. But it kind of does feel like a little bit deja vu when we did, Frank Reich goes to Indy. Ironically, Steichen goes to Indy. And so who's taking care of the play call? What does the play calling even look like? And what was interesting even before the game, Dylan, is you don't activate Rashard Penny. And I've told you, like, that's my Jordan Howard type guy. That's the guy I want to take the short yards, take it in between the tackles. And you didn't have that option there. Now, Kenny got most of the carries, which, we all like Kenny Gainwell.
I like Kenny.
That's the perfect one. I like Kenny Gainwell, but to take majority of the carries, I don't think that is him. Now, Sirianni came out today and said something interesting. He believes DeAndre Swift could be an every down back. So I'm like, what's going on with our running game right now? So like, that's just a confusing part in general. But
that part rubbed me the wrong way too, because on one hand, I like Nick taking accountability, and I get it as a coach, especially Nick, when you hear him talk and he gets going about the flow of a game. I understand where you could kind of get caught up in what you're doing, and hindsight's 2020. So after the game, he could look back and be like, damn, I really didn't get him involved like that. But after the game ends, he comes out and says, I never want to leave a game where DeAndre Swift only has 2 targets. Well, motherfucker, you have a say in that, Nick.
But it's not even just him. Like, Dallas Goedert too. He doesn't even get a catch there. And
right,
I will say this to that point. Like, every game, everyone has their game, right? Like the last week was AJ, the next week could be Devontae, so on and so forth. But when the offense is like stalled in the way like they kind of hit a little bit of a wall. Like, you're forcing
100%.
stuff. You need to game plan and find those plays that get those players involved, those playmakers involved. Your DeAndre Swifts, your Dallas Goddards, and lo and behold, you be surprised. You could probably get your offense going at once you get that part of it going. But it's interesting because Steichen last year was the main play caller, and obviously we were the best rushing team in the NFL, and because of that, that opened up the pass game where you have pass catchers who are going on one-on-one coverage and are able to get open, and Jalen Hurts was able to hit those guys. You need, at the end of the day, this offense still needs that balanced attack. It still needs its fair share of rushes, because that's just going to bring the defense up, and then you're going to be able to hit those big weapons down the field. Like, this isn't a rocket science. I think this team is pretty self-explanatory. I think for Brian Johnson, everyone gets their first stage. We just talked about All City Sports from yesterday. Everybody has their first game, their first day jitters. But now that's not an excuse anymore. You got to go out there. You got to put a better game plan. And it's not easy, because we got to turn around against a team, again, the Minnesota Vikings, who you beat last year handedly and just lost week 1.
So I will say one of the issues, that gets overlooked by blaming the play calling and the personnel usage and everything is Jalen did not have a good day. Like at all. This may have been Jalen Hurts' worst game since the Tampa Bay playoff game in 2021.
Good point.
He was bad, man. He wasn't seeing the field well. It's what Belichick's throwing all these different wrinkles in. It's week 1. Bill, one of the greatest head coaches, defensive minds ever, has had all offseason to plan for this. So I get why it's tricky. The weather wasn't ideal. Everything, all the rust, not playing in the preseason, but to miss Dallas Goedert twice for what would have been a walk-in touchdown, and then to go to him the play after you miss him for a touchdown to overlook Smitty, who's 5 yards in front of him, open for a first down on third down, try to force it to Goddard. The ball sails out of bounds. Jalen was really bad. But the other thing that I would say about the play calling, man, was just, you mentioned the balanced run, and Jalen Hurts was so much a part of that last year, which was great. But Scotty and I, and I'm sure you have all offseason long, have talked about how dial it back a little bit. You don't want Jalen carrying the ball 15, 14, 16 times every week. My issue with what I saw in week 1 is they clearly worked with Jalen on protecting himself and not taking unnecessary hits and getting down. The problem is when you run a quarterback draw or a zone read where the quarterback's going to keep it, he can't slide at the line of scrimmage. Just crumble up that play and throw it away if he's just going to slide in the backfield, man, and lose a yard or two, because it's pointless. It's worthless. And then on first down, trying to eat some clock, the one time he doesn't slide, he tries to run somebody over and fumbles the football and almost loses the game. So it was a mess, man.
It was. I'll be honest with you. The thing that concerns me the most, I don't think people are really talking about. So after Sunday, you lose Nakobe Dean for foreseeable future, not season ending, but for foreseeable future, you're out with him. It sucks because this is a kid who's dealt with injuries. I mean, that's why he fell to you in the second round. Now he's hurt in his opportunity. This is a kid who's getting used to just being a first-time starter in the NFL. And I got to rely on Nicholas Morrow, Christian Ellis, like Zach Cunningham. Like, it's not looking good at that linebacker position. We don't prioritize that position in general, but I mean, dude, no one should feel comfortable with those linebackers, man. So
no, and Reed is questionable as well for Thursday night, backing up that position. It's
dude, what do we do there, man? Like, I mean, you can sign guys off the street, but that's huge, man. Like, I don't want people to overlook TJ Edwards and what he did last year, dude. That was a rock in your defense. He
was a very solid player. I agree with you. Like TJ Edwards. Now, I do think TJ Edwards got way overvalued and overpaid in the offseason, but in terms of the foundation of this Eagles defense, when you're loaded with star power and so many other, position rooms, to have that presence there week in and week out, and TJ Edwards, who's big in the run stopping game, who's just the signal caller out there for his coordinator, that was huge, man. And now you lose that, and you're just so much softer in that room as well. Like, even with Dean on the field, it was still noticeable. But Sean Desai is another question mark too that you're going to have to continue to learn and see along with Brian Johnson, right? Because I thought that Sean Desai came out and had a few different wrinkles than we would have seen Jonathan Gannon have. Like I thought I watched Reed Blankenship come down in the box at the last second and shoot a gap and come on a safety blitz. I watched Sean Desai throw 2 linebackers on one side and rush 5 and 6 at times. So it was cool to see them not just rely on the front four getting after the quarterback. Yeah. The problem is, Parcero, Sean Desai is the same as Jonathan Gannon in keep everything in front of me. I don't want to get beat deep. Well, when you're rushing 5 or 6, wouldn't you want to play a little more press coverage to not allow all those underneath routes? If you get beat once or twice throughout the course of a game, you get beat, right? Like hopefully it's not for a touchdown, but you get beat for a chunk play here or there. I'm so sick of in 0.2 seconds, they're picking up 8, 9, 10 yards because everything underneath is wide open.
And they missed like 3 starters on that offensive line for you not to test that. For you to not even test that. That is truly, truly annoying. Brett, okay, so right now, so with our shot today for our citywide special, we got this from a gift from our dear friend. So it's a Puerto Rican boobs. So we were motorboating everyone today. So
thank you.
Brett wanted me to motorboat you.
Thanks,
Jason wants to know who, in your opinion, who is running back 1?
I mean, mine would be DeAndre Swift. I think he's the most talented. Obviously, like barring health, like that's what everyone keeps saying this whole offseason. Well, as long as they're on the field, well, yeah. Well, guess what, bud? Week 1, they're all healthy. They're ready to go, and you still got Kenny Gainwell over him. I agree with you though, man. I said this all offseason long. My 1-2 punch would have been Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift, and Kenny Gainwell is used in that Corey Clement kind of role from the Super Bowl year where he's used a little bit on third downs here and there. He gets a carry here and there, but that was Jay Ajayi, that was LeGarrette Blount all year long. Like, again, yeah, health is a major concern. They're new to the system. I know you loved what you saw out of Kenny G in the playoffs last year, but man, pound for pound, all those guys 100% healthy next to each other on the field, rank them talent-wise, who can do the best job behind this offensive line. Kenneth Gainwell falls in 3rd place every single time. And it's like, It's like Nick and all are trying to force it in your face, right? Like all you heard all season long was how Kenny Gainwell is getting the most carries, the most reps in training camp. It's like they're trying to prove a point about what they see that we don't see. Well, you're not going to convince me otherwise. Kenny Gainwell was very good on the first drive. He had like 4 carries for like 20 plus yards.
Yeah.
Did nothing after that.
And it was I was like, whoa, is Kenny like about to have a breakout? Like, obviously like it's the first game of the year, you get like those, you get a little outrageous a little bit, but
well, and I'll tell you what else pissed me off, man. I did see, not often, but I saw a handful of times on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, Boston Scott was out on the field instead of DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
What did you trade for a pass catching threat of a running back like DeAndre Swift for if you're going to use a borderline practice squad player over him on 3rd and short?
You just save him for the Giants. That's all you do, Nick. You don't use him in any other games, man. Ian had a good point, and I did hear Nick talk about this.
I think it was a big thing.
And like to me, like a slow start is not the end of the world. Like obviously you don't want to go like 0-3 or 0-4, but would it hurt for you to put your starters 1 or 2 snaps or 1 or 2 series, in first game, 1 series in the second? Like, would it kill them to go through that?
Well, no, and I will say, like Nick said, he has to go back and look at what he's done the first 3 years of him being here. But this was the first year he's never played any of them in the preseason. Like his first starting year, Jalen played the first 2 drives or so of game 1. I think he played a drive in week 2 of the preseason. Last year, he played at least the first, like they played a little bit, like 2 drives of the first game. To not even throw them out there at all was probably a mistake. Like I get it, man. You want to get to the starting line as close to 100% healthy as you can. And God forbid something went wrong on a non-contact injury or something like that to Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown or Lane Johnson in the first snap of the preseason. But, they're very fortunate not to start the season 0-1 right now.
That is true. Jason wants to know, when would you play tight coverage?
like I said, when you're going to when you are showing not showing, but when you are going to rush 5 or 6, when you are going to blitz a bit, because look at everything Mac Jones and Bill O'Brien dialed up. Everything, man, was a 2 or 3 step drop, ball out of their hands. So I'm going to run. Everyone was on Twitter at halftime freaking out about this pass rush, not getting home, blah, blah, blah. How many times did you see Hassan Reddick almost get there around the edge? How many times did you see Jalen Carter discard of the guard and almost come up the middle freely? The ball was out like that. So
Yeah.
when you're going to bring pressure, you have to at least get up. If I had Darius Slay and James Bradbury and I'm bringing 5 or 6, I'm getting up and I'm jamming them at the line. If they somehow get beat off the line of scrimmage and they pick up 20, man, they pick up 20. All right. But I'm tired of the 3rd and 6. I'm bringing 5, but I'm going to line up my corners 8 yards off the line of scrimmage and they're going to hit someone for 7 and they're going to run for another 5. That's when I can't handle it, man, because you're not giving those 5 pass rushers enough time to get home. I don't care who you are.
No, yeah, absolutely. Those are really good points that you bring up here. Real quick, I just wanted to look up here. So the Patriots were 5 of 15 on 3rd down and 1 for 4 on 4th down on Sunday. But like, I mean, we've seen that before with Jonathan Gannon specifically, where I mean, dude, the big plays on those 3rd and longs or 4th and longs were killing JG's defense.
Let me throw this at you. Those numbers are good. They're not bad numbers. They had a drop on 3rd or 4th down by Hunter Henry.
It's true.
To start the second half, the wide receiver beat Bradbury on a comeback route and didn't get both feet in bounds. They had a punt. And on the final play of the game on 4th down,
yeah,
the receiver didn't get his feet down.
Yeah.
Those numbers would look drastically different if the New England Patriots knew how to get their feet down or hold on to a ball correctly.
Yeah, and again, it's week 1, but like if that's a different team, like even I'll put it this way: if that's the team we're playing tomorrow, I don't see. Yeah, I'm agree with you that those numbers would be completely different. The score line may be even different. You know, We're talking 5 points. Who knows what, dude? Who had Jake Elliott on our fantasy league, man?
That's a great question,
dude. That guy was money on Sunday,
question. Dude. NFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
God bless him, man. God bless him. And then, dude, the young defensive tackles, man, they have me so excited
fun.
future, man.
It's so fun, dude. And let me tell you, that was, if I could take one like majorly positive thing away from this game, it was Jalen Carter. And it was just that, like, wanted since he was drafted here, everything I discussed with Scotty over the offseason actually came true and came to light in week 1. I was so scared that they were going to put this kid out there for the first time and keep the training wheels on him. And he wasn't going to, he was going to play limited, him and Nolan Smith would play limited snaps and blah, blah. Nolan Smith got limited action. Jalen Carter didn't. And my guy, when you are rumored to have, when analysts and reporters say you have the best football player in the entire draft, you don't run him out there with training wheels. And they didn't. He played what? He played right behind Fletcher Cox for the most snaps for a defensive tackle on the Eagles team this year, on the Eagles team in week 1. So he was put out there enough. And then the production, I mean, he was the first D tackle or first rookie D tackle to have 7 or 8 quarterback pressures in 5 or 7 years. Like,
yeah,
he was ridiculous. Milton Williams was really good. Fletcher Cox, you said young D tackles. Fletcher Cox saved the game on that 1 3rd and 4th down back to back.
And having that depth, I mean, listen, that youth, that kind of is a little contagious on Fletcher Cox. So I think that this is going to benefit Fletcher as well, man, because he's not going to see as many snaps, and he could still be really serviceable now, man.
I didn't even mention Jordan Davis. Like,
yeah,
gets his first half sack of his career, forces a fumble on Zeke.
He looks good, man. Too. He looks slim down too, man. He looks determined this year
for sure.
Jason, this really hurt, bro. Like, we're not Jets fans here.
Here goes my Super Bowl pick.
Fantastic storyteller. He put out a YouTube video about this. Dude, they literally went through the same thing with Vinny Testaverde, bro. The same injury, Monday Night Football, and they're going through it again. Like, you can't
Yeah.
make this shit up, man.
I saw this right before I jumped on here. Can people stop putting a microphone in front of OJ Simpson?
What did he say? I didn't even pay attention to
Dude,
that dumbass.
this is really bad. He said they were talking about the Rogers injury, and he said 9/11 just hasn't been a good day for New York. Oh yeah.
He did not say that.
Yes, he did. It's on Twitter. I saw it on Twitter right before we got on here.
Dude.
Like, just I don't know. Like, I don't know if he was a guest on someone's podcast. I don't know if OJ has his own podcast and that's what's happening. But somehow this dude, yeah, it's right here. It's pretty from Dov Kleeman or whatever. This is pretty awful. OJ Simpson was asked about the hashtag Jets and Aaron Rodgers injury. Quote: 9/11 is just a bad date for New York. Bro,
dude,
what do you?
Can we just retire OJ as a person?
What do you have him on your podcast for?
Seriously, man. But Dylan, what I want to ask you though, we in the soccer community we have this argument all the time. I want to bring it to football because it's still prevalent. So MetLife Stadium, turf field,
yeah,
dude. I can't tell you how many times I've seen players in. That's why Messi won't play in NFL stadiums because of the turf field.
Interesting.
Listen, turf field yesterday. I've seen countless of injuries from it. I wonder if you have an opinion about the turf field versus real grass.
I mean, I just think it is ridiculous for when you hear the players kind of reach out on social media and every platform they have. And like even before the injury, I've heard like Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce have talked about it on the New Heights podcast. Players hate turf, dude. Like all of them hate it. A couple of them came out freaking out about the turf on Monday night, like right after the Rodgers injury. So I don't understand why any NFL stadium has turf at this point. The thing I'll say about the Rodgers injury, and the thing that I did see some of the doctors on Twitter come out and say, is I don't think it had much to do with turf.
Okay.
If anything, it might have been worse on grass, some of them said. Because basically what happened was Rodgers was trying to keep himself up with a 200 and whatever pound human being pulling on him from behind, and he had like his toes dug into the ground, and you saw his Achilles rupture, right?
So gross.
Some of the doctors, like I don't mean like fake Twitter doctors. I mean like actual like doctors that are on social media that work for the NFL about it. They said it might have been worse on grass. So while I think every NFL stadium should just have grass. No players like it. It's ridiculous that they don't have it. I don't think this injury really had much to do because of the turf.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you the thing. I don't know if you saw this or not, but I was watching the Pat McAfee show the other day, which is hilarious, by the way. They need to blame that off of that offensive line coach should be fired.
Okay.
Should be fired. So I don't know if did you watch the Monday night game?
I did not, but I've been following the Jets a little bit through the Hard Knocks. I watched the first couple episodes, but I did not watch that Monday night game. So what happened with the line?
They ran the ball on first down. Brees Hall picked up, 25, 30 yards. Okay.
Okay.
The next 3 plays, they threw the ball with Rodgers. On all 3 plays, he pump faked, brought the ball back down, was looking, and was chased. He was hit on all 3 plays. The third one is when he ruptured his Achilles. Okay. And on all 3, they had one was the left guard, one left tackle, and 2 were the right tackle.
Okay.
They tried to chip block, like they dove at the feet of the defensive ends, knocked the defensive ends down. Now, what I heard on the McAfee show was Rodgers hated it. Rodgers wanted that out of what the offensive line coach wanted to do, how he had them blocking. Because it doesn't work with 3-step, like it's 3-step drop, right? Chip block, get the ball out. Well, when he pulls the ball down because that read's not there, now the lineman's still on the ground, but the DN's getting up chasing him. So Rodgers wanted it out of the playbook. He didn't want them blocking like that for him because you know how he is going off script at times and extending plays. He wanted that out, and apparently the offensive line coach is very my way or the highway, and this is how we're blocking. And on the 3rd play, or the 4th play of him being the quarterback for the Jets, he tore his Achilles, ruptured his Achilles.
That is a fireable offense, in my opinion, man.
100%.
Especially like you're talking about, like Aaron Rodgers is viewed as a savior for this franchise.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how you don't fire him, but at the end of the day, the
yeah,
Jets
like
now have to go back to Zach
right,
Wilson.
yeah,
And like, I mean, Zach, I'll give him credit because it's not easy being a top pick in the draft as at the quarterback position. And then they bring in Aaron Rodgers and they're like, well, we'll have you on, but take a step back. That's not easy. And now he's got to get put back into the starting lineup. So I mean, we'll see now with the Jets. That division's not easy either. I mean, we just saw the Patriots. They're not going to be easy opponent for
no,
any
but
team
that defense is real, man, for the
for
Jets.
sure, for sure. Here, NFL stadium should be grass. Could we just not have? Remember, speaking of, I think it was Hard Knocks. The Eagles and Ravens, like in 02, 01, when Brian Billick literally is digging his heel in the concrete. At least we're not playing on that, guys. That
Yeah,
that was bad, man.
that was the vet.
Yeah, that's the good old vet. Turf can be a real pain in the
Yes, he
butt, man.
can.
Ian, so does Wentz sign with the Jets?
No,
Wentz
no,
he's
he does not.
still without a team. I think that's even more shocking.
No, Carson Wentz isn't signing with the Jets. Colin Kaepernick isn't signing with the Jets. Cam Newton's not
Absolutely.
signing with the Jets. Tom Brady's not signing with the Jets. It's not happening, man. I don't get it. Like I don't get the outreach for any of these vets they're talking about, or any of these free agents they're talking about. Like, don't get me wrong, dude. I can't stand Zach Wilson. I don't think the Jets have a chance in hell to make a Super Bowl run with Zach Wilson as their quarterback, right? But I still think if he's serviceable enough, if he tones down the turnovers from last year and matures a little bit on the field, I think they can make the playoffs with that defense and that rushing attack they have with Brees Hall and Dalvin Cook. But I just don't get how you think like bringing in Matt Ryan, who's in a broadcast booth right now, or bringing in Nick Foles for the umpteenth time is going to change the fortune, is going to make this team better than what they have with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I mean you're better off. I mean, remember too, guys, chemistry is a real thing in sports.
Yeah.
And Zach's known these guys for a couple seasons now. So for the Jets, their best bet is unfortunately to stick with
Yep.
Zach Wilson.